2024 literally started 10 days ago, and the first trade I've taken in the whole of 2024 was a beautiful 1 to 3 trade on GBP USD, which made me over $6,000. And as you can see from my screen right here, this is the exact trade which I took, and in today's video I'll be breaking it down, showing you guys step by step how I took this trade, and also how my members of the Discord were also able to take the exact same trade. And the owner of the Discord actually made over £11,000 from taking this exact setup. So I'll be breaking down exactly how you could have done it, and not only am I going to be breaking down this trade, but I'm going to be telling you guys a secret technique which I use in trading multiple times to actually bring my account from drawdown back into break even. And I did this on this exact trade on my 200k challenge account, which was in drawdown. So I'll be telling you guys exactly how I was able to bring many accounts from drawdown back into profit, and hopefully by the end of this video you guys will know how to do the same as well. Definitely watch to the end of the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into actually analyzing this 1 to 3 position on GBP USD. So the first thing that we need to do when analyzing any position is you need to understand the higher time frame first, and then you can work your way down to the lower time frame to understand what actually happened. So as you can see here on the daily, what we saw last week was there was a nice sweep of this liquidity here from this low, and that kind of said to me that we can expect to see some sort of retracement to at least fill this fair value gap, or at least come higher and try and fill these highs up here. So that was kind of my thought process to wanting to go long on Monday. So that's why I ended up doing so. And as you can see here, when I go down to the 4 hour, you guys will see that of course we ended up coming up, filling this fair value gap here on the 4 hour almost perfectly, and then targeting these highs up here, and it almost happened to perfection. So that was my reasoning for wanting to go long. It's all about the daily, and you have to look at the daily, the 4 hour, sometimes even the weekly and the monthly to understand your bias for taking the position. Now that that makes sense and you guys understand why I was wanting to go long, I'm going to drop down now to the 1 hour and show you how I was able to get my entry. But before I do actually go to the 1 hour, I want to quickly note that you guys can see here, even on the 4 hour, it's quite obvious that we are forming higher highs and higher lows. And you can see here, if I actually draw out my tool here, look, we've got a high here, we've got a low, right? And we're just expecting to print higher highs, higher lows for the rest of the week because we're bullish, right? GBP USD has been bullish for the last couple of months, and we can expect it to continue until we see a reason or a big market structure shift to the downside, which will tell us to shift our bias to bearish. But until we see that, it's way better just stick to your bullish narrative and continue to look for long. So as you can see there, the 4 hour is bullish, the 1 hour, which you'll see next, is bullish. When I drop down to the 1 hour right now, you'll see 1 hour is still bullish. And what actually happened on this trade is we filled this 1 hour fair value gap literally perfectly. We just about tapped into, or we missed the order block here, but that's fine because my confirmations on the 15-minute was still valid to take the trade. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, a fair value gap is basically a massive gap in between candles. Essentially, that's literally what it is in simple terms. So as you can see here, this candle left a massive gap, and this wick didn't fill this gap. So naturally, price does need to come in, fill the gap, and then continue moving up. And that's exactly what happened here. We literally filled this gap perfectly, and then I expected price to react off it after filling the gap. And where was my targets on the hourly? My targets were up here. These highs hadn't been taken out. This is known as low resistance liquidity because these highs haven't been taken out. So I was targeting these highs. I was targeting these highs as well. Let me mark them out for you guys. So this high was a nice target. This high was a nice target. And this is on the hourly as well. So you got to think about when I scale down to the 1 minute or the 5 minute to get my entry, if I'm targeting a move all the way up here, I'm catching like a 1 to 6 or 1 to 7, and I really could have held it for much longer, but it's just because I wanted to be safe, get my account back to break even, and then kind of start fresh from next week on a new account essentially, because it's now at break even. So just a quick recap: daily's bullish, 4 hourly's bullish, 1 hour we filled the fair value gap, targeting these highs up here, and now you actually want to drop down to the 15-minute and try and get your entry. But before I actually continue, guys, I do want to make it clear that if you are wanting to learn how to trade exactly like me, there is a lot more that goes into it than just kind of seeing what you're seeing on this 10-minute video. Understanding everything in a lot more detail comes from the course, and actually if you want to become a member of the course and catch trades like this all of the time, just send me a message on Instagram. It'll be on the screen somewhere there. and you can just send me a message and I'll explain to you how the mentoring works and how you can actually learn how to take trades like this all of the time, because this is something that every Discord member in our community probably took, because it's such a classic setup for our strategy. And once you learn how to trade like me and like Rob and like Dan and all of the other funded traders in Woke FX, then you literally will be able to pass funded accounts, take trades like this without even needing help from anybody, let alone watching a video like this, because you know how to do it yourself. So definitely recommend, if you are interested, giving me a message on Instagram. But anyway, back to the analysis. As you can see here on the 15-minute chart, filled the fair value gap, which is obviously this blue box here. And it's very important to note here that this is Asian session. So Asian session high had not been taken out, and naturally yet again price wants to come to Asian high, as well as up to these highs and these highs and these highs. Price is drawn towards liquidity, guys, and that's why it's going to be drawn to Asian high. So that just means our bias is even more strongly bullish, because Asian high has not been taken out, and Asian high is a very dominant point of liquidity. It's always going to be targeted in the day. So and that goes for Asian low as well, which is why Asian low was swept here before we see it move up. And now actually on the 15-minute, you can see here we had this nice wick rejection filling the fair value gap, and when I saw this candle here wick down, taking out this low and then start to print bullish, that was my confirmation, or one of my confirmations, because there's obviously a lot more, but that was one of my confirmations to actually go into the trade and actually start to look for a buy position, because we were starting to see bullish candles print on the 15-minute, on the 1-minute, on the 5-minute, and that kind of shows to me that sellers are losing their power, buyers are wanting to come in, and when you see that, that's when you can take a trade. And now there's basically two reasons why I didn't target higher than a 1 to 3, and one of the reasons is because when you are in a drawdown account, you don't want to be greedy. You just want to kind of get out of drawdown, bring it back to break even, and then from there you're able to kind of trade it like it's a completely brand new account, because you're not in drawdown anymore. So first reasoning is I just wanted to get out of drawdown on the account. I wasn't going to be greedy and target, you know, these highs up here, when realistically all I want to do is get the account out of drawdown. And now how to actually get the account out of drawdown in the first place is basically because of this. And what a lot of people actually do when trying to get an account out of drawdown is they typically will risk less than what they normally risk, because they're scared of potentially blowing the account even more or taking a losing position, which enables them to lose and lose and lose or whatever, and then they get more deep in drawdown. But really what you want to do is you want to trade it exactly like you would if you were on a funded account, or if you were on a normal challenge account and you weren't in drawdown. Keep sticking to the same risk management, keep risking the same percentage, and do not decrease your risk, because let's say that my account was in 3% drawdown by the time I took this trade, but I was only risking 0.5%. Yeah, it was a good trade and I would have made 1.5%, but then my account is still in 1.5% drawdown. You don't want to be in drawdown, you want to get it out as quick as possible, and the best way to do that is to literally just risk your normal amount, risk 1%, because then if you catch a 1 to 3 trade, you're back at break even and you don't need to fuss about taking another position because you've only risked 0.5%. So the tip I would give you is to pretty much have confidence in yourself, have confidence in your strategy if you are in drawdown, and do not decrease your risk, because as soon as you decrease your risk, you're going to need to take even more trades than normal to get back to break even, and that can just be bad on your psychology, and it's going to cause you to kind of FOMO into positions, take trades that you normally wouldn't. When if you just stick to risking 1%, you're going to wait for the best setups. Like for example, this trade here, I didn't trade basically all of December, I didn't trade the first week of January, and I waited for a perfect position like this to take on my challenge account and get me out of drawdown. And that's what you guys need to do. You need to be patient, keep risking your normal amount, and eventually you will get out of drawdown naturally if you are a profitable trader. So that's pretty much the position, guys, broken down. I hope it makes sense, because as you guys can see, it was a very strong position. Lots of the Discord caught the same trade as well, which I'll kind of put on the screen somewhere here. But as far as the entry goes, the entry was on the 1 minute. The entry was quite good. I'm quite happy with the entry. And it was very much down to using a combination of the 15-minute alongside the 1 minute to get the entry, which I did. So if I just keep going back, here we go. Here is the entry. So what happened is known as a change of character. So we saw that price came into this area, filled the fair value gap on the 1 hour, as I mentioned at the start, and then price came up here. And as soon as we see that there's a lot of bullish candles displacing above this previous high, that is known as a change of character, guys, and that is when you can get your entry. Another misconception is people also don't know whether to enter maybe at the change of character or wait for a pullback, but that all comes down to your strategy and your kind of style of trading and your confidence in yourself. For me, I'm confident that if I just take it straight after the change of character, I know what I'm doing anyway, and I don't need to necessarily wait for a pullback, because I'm happy with having a 10 pip stop loss. Maybe I could have got a 5 pip stop loss if I entered here or something, but at the end of the day, a 1 to 3 and having a 10 pip stop loss is very, very good, and I didn't see the reason to wait and try and get a better entry than I did. So took the entry straight away, and a lot of the Discord members also did the same, because we kind of teach in our community that you don't need to try and get the best entries. Like, a lot of people will try and get the best entries in the world, like maybe down here, but then a lot of the times they're not filled. So let's imagine if you're waiting for a change of character, but you're waiting for a retest into this level or something to fill this fair value gap. If you're not filled, you've missed out on a potential 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 position just because you're being greedy. So it's very important to stick to your strategy, which is obviously what I do, and just kind of do what works best for you. And as for the rest of the week, I didn't fancy taking any other trades. It just didn't look good to me. Tuesday didn't look great. I didn't like how high we are up in the range. If I wanted to go bullish or take another long position, which I did, I would have waited for price to come into this area, but there was just so much inducement, so much liquidity being taken every time, and there was no clear bullish narrative or bullish pressure, so I just decided to stay out of the charts on Tuesday. And then as for Wednesday, wow, Wednesday has been shooting up, but I just, yet again, I wasn't really happy with the price action, so I haven't decided to take a trade yet on Wednesday. But maybe, you know, later on, if we do come up to potentially these levels or something, then maybe I'll look to take a short, but I'll be honest, probably not. I've taken a winning trade already, 3% up on my accounts from this trade on Monday, and you don't need to kind of force a trade every day. If you can catch a 1 to 3 every week, you're up 3% a week. You're doing, what's that? Quick maths, 12% a month, I think. Like, 3% a week is more than enough. You don't need to be greedy and try and catch a trade every day. And that's what I'd recommend as well for anyone that's kind of new to it. Don't be greedy. If you catch a winning trade, you can literally leave your account for the rest of the week because you're up 3%. There's no point trying to over risk and have the potential of losing that profit. So yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope it was useful to some of you, and I hope you saw value in what I was explaining. And yeah, definitely like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next Sunday for the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.